Welcome to our RegTech Edge No Borders event on cyber and information security risk. This is the last of our 30-odd events we have run in 2023. In the spirit of reconciliation, the RegTech Association acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Since 2020, we have had over 20,000 people from more than 95 countries attend our programs. We really appreciate the support we continue to see from this community. Thank you for being a part of our event programs. Today, we have 7 RegTechs, well, 6 actually. Unfortunately, one of them has had to pull out at the last minute. So we have 6 RegTechs presenting for our audience. That includes 183 registrations from 18 countries. We have 93 regulated institutions, 42 government or regulators, 4 investors, and 38 RegTechs. So I wish to thank you for making the time to join us today, wherever you are joining us from. And now on to some housekeeping before we start the main event. Today will be recorded and every registered delegate will receive the link. Cameras and mics off, please, unless you are presenting. Thank you. If you have any questions for our presenters, please feel free to put them in the chat and don't be shy. And there will be some polls coming up now and then that we would appreciate if you could please answer. The presenters will have 5 minutes each. At the 4-minute 30-second mark, they will see my face come on screen as a visual reminder that they have 30 seconds left. And then at the 5-minute mark, we will go through the rest of their slides if they have not finished yet. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Andy Taylor, who will provide us with a quick overview on the current landscape. Andy is a banking, financial services and insurance consulting partner in risk and cybersecurity. A technology veteran with 25 years of experience, Andy leads the risk and cybersecurity practice for Australia and New Zealand for TCS, specifically with a focus on regulatory risk compliance for cybersecurity, cloud migration, service outsourcing and business transformations. So now over to Andy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alison, and welcome everyone. So I'm overjoyed to be giving this sort of initial sort of State of the Union address, I suppose. And I had a little bit of think about this and thought, okay, what is regulatory technology? Why do we need regulatory technology in our lives? And all of the obvious things came up. We work in a regulated industry. We need to have views of our environments. The threat landscape changes so rapidly, and all of those good things that we as technologists do. And then I had another little think about it, and I thought, well, the word's actually, the clue's in the name. It's regulatory. So why are we? We all have an overlay of regulatory requirement. We all have an overlay of compliance to worldwide regulation, and that regulation continues to increase. And one of the trends that I've seen in my, as Alison says, 25, nearly 30 years of doing this sort of stuff, is regulation goes in cycles. We have waves of regulation, and I think we're actually coming to the top of a regulatory cycle at the moment. A lot of the regulators around the world, thanks to some of the fairly serious data breaches that we've seen, certainly some operational resilience issues that I'm sure everybody on this call is very much aware of what's happened here in Australia, has actually changed the tone from the regulators. So particularly here in Australia, I used to work for the regulator. I worked for APRA in their cybersecurity program. And the regulator has changed its tone very dramatically here. So I just took a couple of quotes to sort of discuss. So Anthony Albanese, for those who don't live in Australia, he's our Prime Minister. And, quite clearly saying, we're not doing as well as we could do. Claire O'Neill, who's our cybersecurity minister, we can't sleepwalk into our cyber future. And the government needs to walk the walk and talk the talk, which they're starting to do here. They're becoming very vociferous in their monitoring and what's that? Interference is probably not the right word, but in their regulation and their interactions with business, as much as bringing in CEOs into select committees to answer questions. But I think the one that's really stuck in my mind was from John Lonsdale, who's the chair of APRA at the moment. And as you can see there, he's simply said, our patience has run out. And I think that's a message to everyone. That's a message to everybody that works within a regulated entity, to say that the regulator is now going to pressure people into doing the right thing. And if you don't do the right thing, they're going to do it for you. So when I think about it from that perspective, I think, well, we have a lot to do. We have a lot of stresses. We have a lot of action points. We have a lot of legacy hardware, all of the things that we all deal with on a day-to-day basis. And for me, the implementation of good regulatory technology is going to be our way, one of the supporting pillars of effectively getting out of some of the mess that we've created for ourselves over the last few years. And I think we're going to have to invest as organizations. We're going to have to invest in our strategies and our system integration partners and our regulatory technology experts to dig our way out of that. And, you don't want to be the person on the front of the Sydney Morning Herald here in Australia. You don't want to be on the front of the newspaper because you've been part of a great cyber breach that could in essence cost your company billions and billions of dollars, and further scrutiny from the regulator. So I think it's the change that we have to enact within regulatory technology needs to be quick, it needs to be fast paced, but it needs to be focused on the right areas. And that's the thought that I would like to sort of leave you with. And this is, people that know me know that this is kind of my mantra, which is innovation is a nice to have, but compliance to regulation is a must have. And as we drive that message through our organizations up to board level, we need to keep talking the same language and making sure that we're delivering on our commitment to the people as a whole, to the customers of our organizations, but also to the wider regulated industries that we work in. So I'm very interested to see the participants today. So it will be very interesting from my perspective as to what's new and what's out there. Sometimes I don't get the chance to spend as much time looking at it as I would like. But that's pretty much it for me. Hopefully I can give everybody a few minutes back. So thank you very much, Alison, and I'll pick up any questions at the end.
Thank you so much. That was great. And I love those quotes. They're very topical. Thank you. I would like to introduce our first RegTech for the day. And I'd like to also say a big thank you to Mark from Theta Lake. Mark is based in New York, so I don't even know what time it is, but look at you. You still look so, it feels like you've just done a whole day and just kept going. So thank you so much for staying up so late. We really appreciate it. And of course, we welcome you to share about Theta Lake. Over to you.
Great. Thanks. So, hey, I'm Mark Gilman. I'm the General Counsel and VP of Compliance here at Theta Lake. Appreciate the opportunity to present. And what I'm going to do is tell you a little about the kind of problem space and regulatory environment that we see ourselves in, walk you through how Theta Lake helps to solve some of those challenges, and then talk a little bit about our kind of innovations around compliance, security, and privacy. So if we go to the next slide, please. So really quick overview here. The regulatory environment for capture, retention, supervision of communications across the globe has really magnified of late. So whether it's the fines from the SEC and the CFTC here in the US or others globally in the UK and Australia, we've seen over $2.6 billion of fines collectively levied against over 40 firms for failures to capture, retain, and supervise messaging content, whether that's email, chat, WhatsApp, Zoom, Slack, Teams, all of these platforms that we're using to communicate now. We're seeing as a kind of result of that, and this 68% is a tally from a survey that we just released around digital communications governance. Firms are turning off communication capabilities, which we think actually drives kind of bad behavior and off-channel communications. What Theta Lake does is we're a risk and compliance platform for modern communications. We think that opening up these platforms and getting the most out of them is actually the kind of secret to success to make users kind of leverage all the capabilities of these platforms and stay on channel in a compliant way. So let's go to the next slide. Thanks. So here's our approach to risk and compliance across all of these platforms. We're able to unlock, the value of these platforms by being able to capture, retain, supervise all of the dynamic content across these platforms, whether that's audio, video, screen shares, chat, Q&A, polling, message edits and deletes. We integrate kind of comprehensively with all these APIs from Zoom, Teams, et cetera, to ingest that content. And so the way that we think about the kind of customer journey is in a 3-step process. So the first step being unified capture, being able to capture all of these communication modalities from these various platforms, chat, whiteboards, screen shares. And I should mention here that as part of our Series B, we've been around for 6 years. We had investment from all the leading collaboration platform providers. So Zoom, Cisco, RingCentral, Salesforce, and executives from Microsoft are all investors in Theta Lake. So that just kind of gives us some power there to better manage this type of data. After kind of unified capture, unified search, being able to search across all of this content, using unique IDs, being able to search across the videos for logos or images, et cetera, really bringing to bear the ability to look across these platforms and look across different channel communications as part of that search. And then finally, being able to kind of use proactive compliance in these conversations to highlight particular issues that you think are relevant, whether that's customer complaints or the sharing of national ID numbers. We have basically thousands of ways to kind of create bespoke policies where we layer in some of our machine learning based detections with routing rules and searches for things like emojis, like the rocket ship emoji, or other lexicon based approaches there to really help folks understand the communications that are happening in their environment and understanding where they might be non-compliant. Next slide. Really quickly here, some innovations on our side. We have global cloud-based data centers across the globe: Australia, EU, UK, US, Canada, Singapore. We allow customers to bring their own encryption keys to manage their data. We allow them to bring their own cloud storage if they want to manage all of their data on their own. And we're able to do things like audio and video redaction and remediation of sensitive content there. From an audit perspective, we do a lot there from a SOC 2 Type 2 perspective, mapping to ISO, as well as PCI and TrueSight. We're now at 6 of the top 10 global banks, have customers in Australia and across the globe in all of those various data centers. So a lot of strength there in terms of our ability to be nimble and deploy across a range of enterprise to smaller customers. Just really quickly, there are a couple screen share slides here that I can tick through. If you go to the next slide, that's what our Teams kind of integration looked like. If you go to the next slide, that's what our WhatsApp integration looks like. And I think finally, there's one last one. That's what Mural, our whiteboarding integration, looks like. So thanks again. Really appreciate the opportunity. Happy to chat more about what we do. But yeah, hopefully this gave you some insight into how we help solve some of these cyber and compliance problems for modern communication.
Thank you so much, Mark. And now off to bed for you. Good night. Thank you. And now over to Graham from BCyber.
Thank you, Alison. My name is Graham Chi. I'm the Managing Director and Co-founder of BCyber. We're a cybersecurity and consulting company. Next slide, thanks. Where we try and differentiate ourselves is really we look at assessments as just the start of managing cybersecurity. And rather than spending so much time analyzing the data with so many tools that are out there, we look at it at more of a family approach. Next slide. What we look at it is very much like a family. The immediate family, which is the staff, clients and such, and that goes from the HR department through the finance department. the extended family, which is very much suppliers that are outside, and the in-laws. We call those the in-laws because they are always trying to add something or overlay some of their requirements. They may be the regulators, insurance providers, they could be third parties that want to actually start discussing and looking from association. So our goal is really to manage this business family. And if anybody has been familiar with how a family works, if you give it too much alcohol or you give it too much different focus, you might have all the good intent, but you're really looking at trying to coordinate these three groups. Next slide. So really what we look at is that we spend about 10% of our time on just the assessments. What our real focus is on is the recommendations, the actions, the monitoring, the training. Now, not one company that we have undertaken reviews on has the same sort of assessment, and we'll go through that at the end of a case study. The recommendations are very different. The configurations are very different. How we actually go about managing those is one of the toughest parts, because we don't just look at the technology part of how we're managing from a cybersecurity approach. Next slide. One of the things that we created was a platform called GRACE, which is Governance, Risk, Assurance, Compliance, and Education. One thing that we get confused with very much of the time is that, are you another MSP? No, we are not an MSP. We make that very clear. We want to make sure that we're like the second line and third line of defense. We help the boards, we help management, we help reinforce that first line of defense. What our approach is that we really want to look ahead, not behind. We don't want to drive this car from looking out the front windscreen. And that's why the assessments, we see a lot of people that focus in on just what happened before rather than looking at where to take it. The proactive approach for protection has made it a lot more interesting for our clients, is that we see cybersecurity as an investment. We don't see it as an expense. That's the first conversation. How much is it going to cost me? We look at this from a protective, proactive protection. Our program actually puts technology last out of these three. We focus on the people part of it, and the statistics that have been revealed is that just on 90% of all cyber attacks relate to something with people. The other part is process. So this is where we're focusing in on. But there is sufficient technology out there, and we have used a large number. It continues to occur and it continues to be implemented. Just adding another piece of technology is not going to stop sites, a cyber ransomware, a phishing incident. It all becomes this people, process, then technology. Next slide. One of the differences that BCyber approaches, and we're a bit different, we want to become obsolete. So that's what we're looking at. These parts here as our people, as our staff. The other part is that we're looking at AI as the augmented intelligence. So next slide. Recently, we did 400 assessments and we did 1,200 endpoints. So next slide. And we produced a number of tailored reports. We tailored this for our clients. So last slide. So get inspired by Grace. That's what we're trying to target. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now over to Ingenuous. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alison. Hello, everyone. Greetings from Melbourne, Australia. My name is Ramyashri Subhash, and I'm the Senior QA Engineer at Ingenuous. Thank you, RegTech, for giving us the opportunity today to speak on cyber and information security risk. Next slide, please. In here, I have listed down the common challenges that are faced by organizations today, wherein I'm going to focus on legacy systems to understand how they are prone to cyber threats and to focus on the key factors that we would want to know to safeguard them. The reason I've picked up legacy systems is because most of our customers are working with legacy systems and are dealing with the problems that comes with it, starting with the bad data quality, outdated information, and its heavy reliance on multiple systems, thereby making it less secure and more susceptible to cyber threats. While it is important that we focus on digitization, improving the data quality, it's equally important that we secure the legacy systems to protect our customer information, to prevent financial crimes, and to safeguard against cyber attacks so that the organization's reputation is kept protected. Next slide, please. Keeping in mind the risk factors and with years of experience in detection and prevention of financial crimes, we have built one single platform called Intuition. Intuition can not only fulfill the digital requirements, but also can cater to legacy requirements. Intuition can be installed on-premise or can be hosted on cloud, and it can also manage the customer's end-to-end journey, covering all the aspects, starting from onboarding and all the way up to securing and serving the customers, including the customer lifecycle management. Next slide, please. Intuition is also a real-time orchestration platform, meaning it can seamlessly interact and integrate with external and internal partners and services such as Scantech, Refinitiv, Dow Jones, and Threatmark, and many others. In other words, it can basically push and pull the data and do all the analysis all in real time, near real time, or in any other mode that's needed. Next slide, please. While Intuition can offer a range of benefits, some of the key benefits are we provide the best-in-class customer support. We at Ingenuous believe that it's not just about resolving a customer support ticket, but it's about being there always for our customers. The second one is the comprehensive case management system that we have, wherein all the data that's analyzed are stored in our case management system and can be seamlessly extracted using reports whenever required, and can also be automatically sent to the regulators wherever it's required. The third one is the latest technology stack that includes artificial intelligence, machine learning, and visual intelligence, also known as the graphical network analysis. The key thing to note here is that all of these technical capabilities are part of our standard deliverable platform. It comes along with the standard product offering. The next one is not the least, but last but not the least, is the continuous enhancements or the continuous improvements that we focus on by customer feedback and research and development. We're always keen to know more about the space and come up with new functionalities and capabilities, which makes us top of the market. Next slide, please. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. If you would like to know more about Intuition, and if you have any further questions about Intuition, please do drop them in the chat. We would love to answer them. That was my time. Thank you so much for having me. Over to you, Alison.
Thank you so much. And now Ingenuous. Sorry, to Interlock. I still saw that. Sorry, Interlock.
That's all good. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Wayne Grant. I'm the advisory principal for our GRC division. Interlock's part of the Spirit Group. We're the cyber arm, and with a heavy presence on the east coast of Australia, but with a managed SOC in Manila as well. If we could go on to the next slide, please. So the risk challenge is really what we're hearing from the market, from a lot of our customers, from the various bodies that we're dealing with. We're still sitting in a situation where a lot of organizations are seeing an uptick in the amount of money that they're having to spend on covering their cyber risk, certainly in the last 3 years. Based on all that's been going on, we've seen that exponential increase to the detriment of potentially innovation in other areas, because we're having to utilize some of that funding to manage risk within organizations, and that seems to be a common theme that's coming out. Sadly, as much as cyber risk is very prominent in everybody's minds, we're still managing cyber risk in a very manual method. Who doesn't like a good risk register on an Excel spreadsheet? I know a lot of people are really grappling with that at the moment and trying to find ways in which to automate that and get cyber risk aligned to a lot of the other risk areas within the enterprise space, because there is a disconnect in terms of how the reporting is happening and just getting that holistic view of how it aligns to the other areas of risk within a business. It seems to be quite a challenge at this point in time. And a lot of the leadership that we're dealing with, 2/3 of the leadership that we deal with, and it's good to see we're seeing a lot more board members getting involved. They're not just abdicating the responsibility to executives. A lot of board members are stepping in and wanting to understand more about what the organizations can be doing in the cyber risk space, are saying to us that they're heavily invested, but they just don't seem to be able to keep up. And that's true because it's a double-edged sword. You've got regulators, insurance underwriters, and various other stakeholders putting pressure on organizations to do better and secure data. You've also got a global uptick in the threat actors, the ways in which they're attacking organizations. So you've got this perfect storm where organizations are being squeezed from both sides. Some of the, and I won't belabor the fact, but some of the stuff that we work with on a day-to-day basis with a lot of our customers, certainly in that business resilience, we're seeing a huge amount of interest there. We're doing a lot of work around the incident response piece. A lot of people wanting to do some simulations and tabletop exercises, and I suppose that's because it gives you that muscle memory in terms of when something happens that all the participants know what they need to be doing. At the same time, we're also doing under risk management. There's a big opportunity for us to work in the third party and supply chain risk. And those of you that are gearing up for CPS 230 will know that that's a key component that needs to be addressed. So we're working with vendors and customers in that space. And then on the governance and compliance side, we're very much aligned to all the major frameworks. As we know, here in Australia, the Australian Signals Directorate, the Essential 8 in November, published a raft of changes. We know NIST 2.0 is on the way. So as much as regulations are changing, we also have to factor in that a lot of the frameworks are gearing themselves up to ensure that we can try and combat the threats that are currently in existence. Next slide, please. Just in terms of Interlock, that's not translated really well. It's coming up very slowly on my screen. But just to contextualize, so we're obviously part of the advisory service, but it's really important for people to understand that we've got really deep skill sets in our technical security expertise, as well as in our managed services. That encompasses our SOC space as well. And what we find from a risk advisory piece is that we're getting real world information fed to us from those respective teams who work with some of the top tier providers in that space. So we certainly are able to then translate that into tangible changes for our customers to ensure that their risk posture can work in conjunction with that information. Next slide, please. just in terms of our presence, as I said, east coast of Australia, primarily with a Manila SOC. We do have an Australia SOC, which caters for people from a data sovereignty perspective. Next slide, please. And lastly, and I'm hoping that we get invited back to RegTech to talk about this one, we've partnered with Landers & Rogers, who are a law firm. One of their specialist areas is in the data privacy aspect. So we've partnered with them to come up with a privacy assessment tool or privacy impact assessment tool. And what we're aiming to achieve there is that the customers get maximum coverage from the perspective of having not only legal advice, but also then the data security piece that then goes with that. And I look forward to any further questions after the fact, but thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Over to Carlsgate.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vivian Zhou, co-founder and the Chief Product Officer at Carlsgate. We specialize in modern privacy-preserving data management tools that empower seamless data supply chains for AI and beyond. Next, please. Let's look at the problem. In today's data-driven landscape, with the data multiplying across channels, platforms, and organizations, the ecosystem becomes increasingly siloed and fragmented. Accessing personal identifiable information, or we call it PII, is crucial to connect the dots, fuel the data economy, and advance AI. However, navigating stricter global privacy regulations poses significant challenges. Next, please. This is exactly what is happening in Australia now. The new upcoming Privacy Act places significant emphasis on personal information protection. According to the latest government response, the definition of PII extends beyond the traditional details like name, address, phone number, email, to include any kind of persistent and universal digital IDs, with a non-exhaustive list added. Moreover, explicit consent from consumer now is required for companies to collect, access, and use personal information. Any unauthorized data access, release, and use are deemed as data breaches, with the fine for severe breaches escalating from 2.2 million to a minimum of 50 million. Now, the pressing questions for all organizations is how do we strike the delicate balance between data utility and the privacy protection to ensure both innovation and the data security? Next, please. Imagine there is a way that guarantees a seamless data connectivity and sharing, offering full life cycle protection by completely eliminating PII from all data flows, with the privacy by design integrated into daily operations. That's exactly our actionable de-identification could help, empowering privacy-driven data utility. Next, please. On top of actionable de-identification, we offer fully automated privacy-preserving solutions that facilitate the three key types of secure data sharing activities, including data collaboration, data integration, and identity resolution, covering a broad spectrum of use cases. Next, please. Our solution stands out with exceptionally lightweight and a super user-friendly approach. Users maintain their current tech stack and infrastructure, deploying our technology in just less than 30 minutes. Business users can effortlessly create data sharing networks without coding. Our zero-trust data connectivity converges the data security, privacy, and efficiency all in one. Next, please. Let me illustrate how we are making a difference with a real case. One of our clients, a healthcare analytical platform company operating in Australia, Japan, and the US, delivers a real-world evidence solution to life science industry. Their challenge was accessing and linking diverse patient data across different healthcare organizations to create a comprehensive longitudinal patient health view for insight generation and AI model development. Beyond the challenges posed by lengthy InfoSec review and the compliance checks for each partner, they also struggle with the developing custom manual process to securely manage a PII and achieve precise data matching at the individual level. We help them streamline their end-to-end operations by efficiently integrating data from over 300 sources, like pharmacists, labs, medical research centers, cross-diverse cloud systems, and geolocations. All this automation is upheld with the highest standard of security, compliance, and data integrity. Importantly, none of this involved revealing or moving any PI from any healthcare organizations. Next, please. Our solution has delivered impressive results, a 68% reduction in operation cost, a 200% increase in scalability through expanded data sources, and a significant decrease in the risk of data breaches. Next, please. Want to know more about our product? You can go to our site, Experience it Live, and try free actionable de-identification today. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. We would love to hear your use case and explore how we could assist you. Next, thank you. That's our company information. Thanks.
Vivian, you were right on time. Well done, you. You're just an expert at this now, aren't you? You could run the whole thing. Thank you. Over to our last, but certainly not least, Record Point. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I won't keep you long, everybody. My name's Chris Brown, and I'm the Vice President of Product here at Record Point, and I'd like to introduce you to the Record Point Data Trust platform. Next, please. I think it's already been mentioned by a number of the other participants today, but we don't want to end up on the front page of the newspaper. Enough of this is happening. Next, please. You actually get an opportunity to see that it's not just the loss of data, but it's also the loss of trust of either your consumers, your citizens, that is the payback or the element that you take away from your organization when you have these incidents. Next, please. One of the biggest things that organizations can do is be proactive. We're very proactive in cybersecurity. We're always proactive around our training and other things, but being proactive around your data governance is one of the other key pieces that you can actually introduce your organization to ensure that you have that clear visibility of what you have and where it is. Understand what data you shouldn't be keeping the integrity of the information that you are storing in place, and ensuring that any destruction of information is actually defensible, knowing that you knew what you had, you knew why you had it, you knew how long you were supposed to keep it for, and you removed that from your platform over time appropriately. This can also be complementary to your cybersecurity program by allowing you to understand that data inventory and why is there certain information being kept in certain locations. Why is there credit card information in SharePoint, or why is there personal information being kept on these file shares? Next, please. Record Point lives right at that intersection of data governance, data privacy, and cybersecurity, allowing you as an organization to add benefit to all of the investments you've made in these areas. Next, please. One of the biggest things is that post-breach cost. Having to go back and find out what information there was, working out whether or not the information that you had was private and it is going to cause further damage to your reputation, ensuring that you report it appropriately to the authorities. Having that proactive approach to the information management that you have will allow you to supplement any processes you're putting in place post-breach. I'm a firm believer that it's very much more of a when, not an if situation here as it relates to breaches. So again, even though cybersecurity is constantly inventing the new mousetrap, the hacker community and the bad actors are obviously working their way through trying to defeat those. Next, please. What makes Record Point different? Obviously, the way in which we implement, the way in which we price as well. You only pay for what you use. We're not based on users. We're based on the amount of information that you have under management. So again, being able to assign a direct value to the information that we're helping you to manage. And of course, if you're doing good processes and defensively destroying the information that has been kept for far too long. Over retention is one of the biggest problems in this space. So allowing you to control and do good information management actually allows you to help control the cost and therefore assign value to this problem that you're solving. Next, please. I want to tell a quick little story, but obviously an organization that we've had worked with, they had a ransomware attack earlier this year. And one of the more interesting things that they found was by having an inventory of the information that was involved in that ransomware attack, they were able to make better decisions about how to interact with the bad actor, obviously bringing in the FBI and other organizations to be involved as well. But it did give them the benefit of knowing that for the information that they had under management, they had that inventory and were able to make much better decisions around that. Next, please. If you take a look at the experience here at Record Point, you'll see a number of the regulators. regulators, especially here in Australia. ASIC and APRA are very heavily in this space. A number of our larger banks here in Australia and New Zealand. And then if you start to think about scale, organisations like the City of New York, 70 divisions, the fire department, the police department, Parks and Rec, finance, everything related to the City of New York currently being worked on, and they're using that data trust platform to gain value. So I'll push now through to the last slide. And I said, hopefully, if you do have any further information or you have questions, absolutely take the time to drop them into the chat here with us. My name's Chris Brown, and obviously you can look us up here on recordpoint.com. And thanks very much for listening.
Right. Oh, I didn't even get to put my image on before you finished there, Chris. Well done, you. Thank you. That was great. Thank you to all our speakers today. We've definitely finished this year on a high. It's our first edge of cybersecurity, and obviously we'll be pushing through next year and including this again. It's a risk area that everyone is particularly interested in. And before I touch on the first of our 2024 events, I wanted to remind you that we will be releasing our Industry Perspectives report for 2023 shortly. So please keep an eye out for that. In 2024, we will be continuing our new look and feel Accelerate RegTech Global series. We'll be running face-to-face events in Sydney in April and London in June, and we'll be sending out some more information about that and also sponsorship opportunities and presentation opportunities in the next couple of weeks. February next year, 22nd of February, RegTech Edge No Borders Financial Crime. Then we have a RegTech Matters ESG, but the date is to be determined. And then in March, we'll have our 28th of March, RegTech Edge No Borders Regulatory Compliance. So keep an eye out for both of those. They'll be sent out to the database soon. I can't believe we are speaking about 2024. Thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you online next year. I hope you enjoy the rest of your year and the beginning of 2024, and I hope that you are able to enjoy some time away from work over the next couple of months, whatever that looks for you. Take care and see you next year. Thank you again.